Hi, this old house. My name's Adam Gorring and welcome to my shop here in Westland, Michigan. I understand that you're looking for an apprentice, but rather than stand here and tell you why I'm the one for the job, why don't you let me show you? So I'll have a moment I want to explain why the woodworking industry and construction are such a huge passion for me as an individual. When I first started out, my history, there are pictures of me when I was 3 years old with my brother in the backyard, with real tools, hammers in our hands, working on projects. And so we started at a very early age. I can remember working on wagons, working on projects in the garage with my dad. My dad was a contractor. He does kitchens and bathroom remodeling. My grandfather was a brick mason. He owned a real estate company and did a lot of building around the community. It was a huge step for me when I went off to college. I ended up going to the University of Michigan. And when I got there, I was taking a lot of more theoretical type of coursework. I was doing English classes and things of that nature. But while I was there, I was always kind of fighting to get back to working with my hands and working in furniture, working with wood. And by the end of the time there, for me, I was able to actually find a decent amount of coursework in the art school where I was able to take furniture classes and really expand on the knowledge that I had built up in my backyard with my family. I ended up getting connected with an individual in Ann Arbor who was a well-known woodworker. He actually ended up working for Wendell Castle for a long period of time. I did an apprenticeship with him after I graduated from Michigan. And once I had that set up, I was off and running. I went and I formed my own furniture company. It's called Detroit Handworks. That's one aspect of my love for the trade, but I also, not just am I experiencing it in my own shop, experiencing it in my own history, but I also teach this to the next generation. So I've got students in this class that I've been teaching for 3 years that are getting to experience what I love for the first time. They're getting to use the tools, build something and really feel a sense of pride in that, build up a sense of accomplishment. And for some of these students, it's not something that they're used to. They're used to being in a class where they're learning from a book or they're writing a paper. But in this class, they come in, we might do a little bit of a lecture for part of the time, but the majority of the time they're out in this lab space working with their hands, building up experience and getting a chance to really build up a sense of who they are and a sense of pride in the construction industry. Here are my classroom in Westland, Michigan, and this is where we practice what I call the true method. So one of the first components of that is the T. T is for teaching. I've been teaching at this center for about 3 years. I started as a TA, worked my way up to now being the first year teacher in our construction class. So what they do is they come in here, they take their notes, they've got paper, they've got pencils, they've got reference material on the shelf, and then they can come back out here, look through it, get an understanding of exactly what the practice is that they're going to do, and they can take it and apply it. What they do out here is the next section, and that's reading. So we've got teaching, we've got reading. Reading, the big part for us, is reading prints. So a huge part of construction, as we all know, is reading a blueprint. This one isn't necessarily blue, but you can see we've got all of our different dimensions on here. This is one of the structures that we use for our skills competitions. It's got all of the layouts, the measurements. The students come in this class, they might have never used a hammer, they might have never driven a nail before, but once they exit this class, they'll be able to take this print, understand it, read it, and build the structures. So once they've been taught, once they've been able to read the prints, we take those experiences, we take that knowledge, and we use it. The biggest part of this class, and what makes it so exciting for our students, is being able to use this stuff in an actual hands-on experience. They get all their own tools, they get circular saws, they get all the wood and materials that they need, and they build it themselves. They build these structures, they learn how to frame the walls, do the window rough openings, door rough openings, intersecting gable roofs. By the time they exit this class, they'll either, one, be ready to work on their own house that they might own someday, two, be ready for our second year program to be out working on site building a house from the ground up. Here we are at this year's house, and the last step in our true method, E, stands for experience. You can see right over here, we've got our second year students working on the house. All of these students were in our first year program learning the skills in the shop. Now they're taking those skills and applying them to this house. These students worked from the foundation up to the roof caps over the past 7 months, working with industry professionals along the way. All along that time, they were getting an idea of what the industry's like, and hopefully thinking into the future about what they might want to do for a career one day. Right now, they're finishing up the rafters, getting everything set to go to finish up the exterior of the house. On the inside, they're working on drywall, mud, and paint. Let's take a look inside and see how they're doing. So when I'm not in my class and teaching the students, you'll find me on nights and weekends and over the summer break here in my shop, which is also in Westland, Michigan. I like to come in here, work with rough sawn lumber, mill it all down to shape, create custom projects like chairs. I've got a couple of canoes that I've worked on in the past, as well as individual client projects. So with my teaching experience as well as my personal shop experience, growing up, being in, whether it's the shed, going into a bigger scale, getting into my shop nowadays, you can start to see some of the passion that I have for the trade of woodworking, carpentry. I teach it, I work in it, I do it during the day for a job, I do it after work for a hobby and for a business. And you can kind of see the experience that I have from both of those perspectives. I've taught it, I've lived it, I have a lot of experience from that regard. And I see that this old house has a lot of experience as well. Many years teaching a wide variety of people, a huge audience about the trades and what's important and why they're a valuable asset. And I think that your skills combined with mine would be a great opportunity to work together. And I think I'm the man for the job.